Welcome to the party. I'm not here right now, but I want you to listen very carefully. Enough talk. It's showtime.
Hello and welcome to Bags of Action. My name's Steve, my co-host is Pete.
Hello.
This episode we're talking about the 1994 film Surviving the Game, and this is one of Pete's choices.
Yes, it is.
So is this a film that you've seen many times before? Is this one of your video shop ones?
It is one of my video shop ones, but not to the extent, I think, we've talked about other films that I may have seen like 20 or 30 times.
Yeah.
I think I've seen this maybe 3 times before, maybe 4. It was when I used to go to the video shop and they'd go, oh, there's a new film out, straight to video that no one else will want to rent. Here, have it tonight. And then a month later they'd go, oh, no one else has rented it. Would you like to buy the X-Rental copy? So I bought the X-Rental copy of this. I had this on VHS.
Wow.
And I looked back on it fondly, and I have rewatched it for this podcast. I will say not much more for now.
I think I already know what Pete's going to say. We haven't discussed this, I should say.
No, we haven't. And you have never seen this film before.
No.
So I'll give it to you. So apparently it's based on a novel. Yes. And apparently there have been something like 30 films made about this novel. One of the films that isn't made from that novel, but is very similar to this film, is Hard Target. This is just plot-wise, it's almost identical to Hard Target.
That's what I was going to say later on. But yes, this is very. That's fine. This is very, very similar to the Jean-Claude Van Damme film Hard Target, where it's more urban though. That one, isn't it?
Yes, it is actually. Even though it does go into the bayou, I believe it does. But a lot of it's in New Orleans, and there's more kind of. Whereas this is a little bit more. They keep the city and the wilderness separate. Mm-hmm. So it's a stellar team behind the camera. So directed by Ernest Dickerson, who you all know from Juice and Bulletproof, which I think was the other film I offered up actually for this episode.
Oh, right, yeah.
But he went on to do, like we've talked about before, 90s film directors end up being post-2000 TV directors, and he's directed quite a lot of Dexter and quite a lot of The Walking Dead as well.
Oh, right, okay. And the music from this, of course, is Stuart Copeland.
Stuart Copeland, which means it sounds quite similar to The Equalizer, See No Evil, Hear No Evil, and Droids, the cartoon. Remember the Droids?
Yes, sadly.
All of which are from Stuart Copeland and all have a very similar kind of sound to them. But Stuart Copeland from The Police, and he's now in a band, I believe, called Gizmodrome.
Oh, wow, okay. I don't know if he's still alive.
He is still. I believe he's still alive. He may be working on the Surviving the Game 2 soundtrack as we speak. Oh. I don't think so. Okay. So it's written by Eric Berndt, who also wrote Virtuosity. Have you seen that? Denzel Washington.
Don't know.
And Romeo Must Die, which is Jet Li.
Jet Li. Sorry, yes, it's Chow in fact. Yes, it's Jet Li. Yeah. Okay, but this film has quite a well-known cast.
It's got it's a dream B-movie cast in many ways of kind of the time of it was made. So this is kind of in Ice-T. Ice-T is the main character, so he's the homeless person. That's the main character of the film, called Mason. This is back during the period when all characters in films are called Mason.
Yep.
Like Under Siege, etc., etc. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he's surrounded by Rutger Hauer's in here.
Yeah.
Gary Busey. Who else? F. Murray Abraham.
Charles Dutton and John C. McGinley.
John C. McGinley.
Know from things like Platoon, but also more recently, Scrubs.
And of course, Point Break.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so it's a very good cast.
It is, but I think Ice-T's kind of miscast, really.
Okay.
Because he's essentially the protagonist. He's not the leading man, but he is the protagonist, and I think he's really miscast in this.
In what way? Because has got the chops for it, or?
Given that I think he has got the chops now, having seen what he's done in other things. Like he's been in the Dick Wolf Show, It's not CSI, is it?
Law and Order.
Yes.
He's done 400 plus episodes of that, so that seems to have been. But I mean, this was around the time he'd done quite a few films around this kind of. He had a purple patch in the mid '90s, so he did New Jack City, which was a strange one because he was the cop and Wesley Snipes was the gangster.
Yeah.
Trespass. Do you remember Trespass?
Don't think so.
Okay, maybe one for another episode. I'm trying to think if there's any action in it or not. I can't remember. Ricochet, which obviously we've covered before.
Yes, where he was playing the villain there. Well, sorry, he was playing a criminal gang leader.
Yeah, helping Denzel. Tank Girl.
Yeah. And
Johnny Mnemonic.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So I say a purple patch. He was in a lot of films.
Yeah.
In a row.
But I think he worked in this role. As the kind of as a homeless bum with dreadlocks, you can kind of believe him. But I thought he was more likely to be a veteran, and when he turned out not to be a veteran, he was just someone who, as we find out later, is just a regular guy.
Just a guy. Yeah. I don't know if that's down to the casting, or if it's just down to the story, though, because. Okay, we'll make the parallel to Hard Target because I would imagine more people listening to this have actually seen that film.
Yes.
And it came out like a year earlier, I think, or around the same time. I guess the conceit in that is the same, but everyone they're hunting is like ex-Marines, ex-Green Beret, so they've got something about them. Here, it is. I kept having not seen it for a while. I was waiting for them to say, he was Special Forces. He was this, which again at this time period, there was lots of films where, don't underestimate the cook, don't underestimate, all these various people. So I kind of like the fact that he wasn't, but it also made it completely and utterly implausible.
Yes. Because,
again, without spoiling too much, even though we will be spoiling, so if you haven't seen it and you can find it, I think it's Surviving the Game. But it's, kind of, when you think about it, it kind of falls apart because he doesn't have that hard a time of it, really. No.
I mean, the other guys have all got guns, and some of them are ex-military. One of them, he's been the CIA. I'm not sure what John C. McGinley's character used to do, other than the fact that he's unhinged. But Rutger Hauer is obviously kind of an ex-military guy, and probably Charles S. Dutton is as well.
I think, Gary Busey, I think, is a...
He's a former CIA psychologist.
Which there's an awful lot of scenery chewing. There's almost like a competition between all the other characters, other actors, who can kind of chew the most scenery, really. And maybe that's to me, I quite like the contrast. His Ice-T is quite laid back and kind of not that interested in many ways. And I suppose that is a contrast to these people that are all, they are all giving kind of like soliloquies and, long kind of speeches about stuff. Like
don't start me on that bloody...
Like their Fat Bulldog.
Oh, that's... Gary Busey tells this... We're jumping around, but it doesn't matter. Yeah. He that story he tells about his dog, and it goes on... and he's acting it out as he talks it through. It's terrible. It's, as you say, chewing the scenery. It's really bad. I was expecting a fade, and we get to a flashback. Yeah. No, he's just going to tell you it and make you picture it whilst watching the film. I just thought, okay, right, that's where we are. The budget is that. Okay.
I think what I found, having watched this when I was quite a bit younger previously. I remember thinking this film was quite profound. Not like, Roadhouse profound, but kind of like, there's this it's the rich against the poor. It's kind of this whole, 1% thing. And it's there's no subtlety in this film at all, having watched it again now. And some of the things you go, there's a speech and then you hear what they say and you go, oh, right, okay. And it does, you can follow the kind of screenwriting 101. It's like, okay, Ice-T, right? He's a homeless guy. Okay, how do we make the audience empathize with this homeless guy? Okay, he's looking after a dog that gets run over. Right, he's buried the dog. Okay, we still need to make him more likable. Okay, he's friends with an old man. Okay, let's have the old man die as well, and you can bury him next to the dog.
Yeah. Yeah.
It does, I think, lay it on with a trowel, I guess, is the...
Tragic backstory, that's the only thing can top it. Oh, wait, he's got burns on his body. Why is that? I killed my family. Think,
well, yeah,
I think... Did he?
The frustrating thing there as well, because, again, we are jumping all over the place, but, like, watching it and you go, okay, he's in a hotel room, he's gone to have a bath, and you go, okay, they're doing that to show these scars and to show that he's got burns. But then when Rutger Hauer's character turns up, he goes, oh, how did you get those burns? And it's like, well, we didn't need that to be said because, I don't know, and there's lots of other things like to make Rutger Hauer kind of weird and creepy, he's got a parrot on his hand. There's a lot of things in this film that I'd completely forgotten. But essentially the first 20 minutes, I was like, I don't know if this is the film I thought it was. Yeah.
Oh,
you're picking next month, aren't you?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, just want to check.
It's something more modern. I'll go with that.
Yeah.
This film is very, very odd. Like the bit where, so he gets hired where he thinks he's going to be a guide, even though he doesn't know what it's going to be doing. He doesn't have any experience, and then they take him into the middle of nowhere. And then they have that meal with the pig, which they've just killed the pig.
That's a creepy scene.
What's he called? Albert or something?
Oh, no, I don't remember. He did give him a name.
So they bring the pig on the plane, and they go, it seems a bit of a, all this way just to hunt a pig. He goes, we're not hunting the pig. He's dinner. And then they kill the pig, which you don't see. And then Gary Busey with his stupid psychology stuff that's so, like, it's not even wafer thin. It's just so slapdash. And the fact that he keeps turning the pig's head to look at iced tea on the table.
and then when he tells the story about, what's it you say, like Henry Stout or something is the name of the bulldog.
Yeah.
It gets mentioned a few times.
Yeah.
And then what I did quite like is he tells this story, which basically you're like, okay, this guy is unhinged. They're all unhinged, but this guy is like, well, it's Gary Busey, so he's very good at playing that kind of character.
Yep.
So he's a CIA psychologist, and he's basically just told you that, you know, he killed his dog, and that's kind of the reason he's like he is. And then Ice-T's character just goes, do your patients know this story? which I felt like an ad-lib. And he goes, no, but you do now. And I was like, what does that mean? Yeah. What does that mean? There's lots of lines that feel like they have meaning or they're setting something up, but they're not.
I like Charles S. Dutton goes, well, when they picked the pig and they're going, did you know when you picked it that the meat was going to taste so good? Did you know? And he goes, I do know how to pick them, don't you think? And you see him looking at iced tea, but then they're chewing the pig. And I'm going, hang on, so are you going to eat iced tea? What?
I know.
I don't get it.
And there's a toast to the hunters and a prayer for the hunted. Yeah. But the way they're all looking at him, I think you'd have been like, hang on, okay, I was a homeless guy. I was about to jump in front of a lorry to commit suicide, which that's why I find it's weird that he's so bothered once he gets there.
Yeah.
You know? So, and then Charles Dutton gets him and he gets offered this job. So, you know, and you'd be thinking, well, I don't have any qualifications for this job. I don't know anything about
survivalist guide.
Yeah. And I've got there and they keep pointing a pig's head at me and they're saying weird things. I think I would have been...
Well, it could be worse. They could have asked him to put his penis in it, like, you know, old David Cameron allegedly did as part of his...
Maybe that was in Hell's Canyon as well. But it's like a bit like, do you smoke? Yes, okay, get on this treadmill for half an hour.
Yeah.
And there's a line there, never underestimate a man with nothing to lose, which I think is supposed to be the thematic thing, even though he has no training whatsoever.
Yes.
He is a man with nothing to lose. But then if he's got nothing to lose and he tried to kill himself, he probably doesn't give a shit. So what?
Why don't they just let him kill himself?
Yeah. I'd be like, never underestimate a man who's got actually loads to lose.
Yeah, surely you'd work hard if you got something to lose.
I know.
You don't want to lose it. Isn't that how it works?
Anyway, there's a 19-year-old version of me that's very upset with me right now. But you love this film.
He's buried in the past.
That's true. That's true. He's buried somewhere in...
He's a young fool, Pete.
He's in Hell's Canyon, burnt out in a lodge. That's where he is.
So I've just written, Gary tells this story about his dog. I'm not really sure why.
I got cherish the moment, observe your food.
Yeah, I've also put things like lots of talk about the hunt and spirits and knowing your prey. Yeah.
I mean, there's a good bit here, ish, with John C. McGinley because, like you said, Mason kind of jokes about it. They say, what happened to your family? He doesn't really want to open up to any of them. No. So he goes, I killed them, just being really kind of flippant. And John C. McGinley's like, I'm going to take you. I'm going to get you. And he just kind of goes crazy because his daughter was killed. Mm-hmm. And I think the change in John C. McGinley later, I'm not going to say that it's going to win any awards, but that's quite a good dramatic scene later in the cave. Yeah.
I like the fact that, so you got F. Murray Abraham, who's this Wall Street guy, his son, Junior. And from the beginning, Junior's like, I don't want to do this. This is awful. This isn't right. No. And he's like, you will. You'll be a man. We'll make a man of you, his dad keeps saying to him.
That's it. It costs $50,000 a
head. Yeah, I wrote that down. So it costs $50,000 a head to come on this hunt. I'm like, wow.
It's like a red letter. It's available through Red Letters Days, apparently.
Do you think Matt Groening watched this in the 90s and then years later when he created Futurama, he went, oh yeah, that's where I got that from. I'll come back to that in a minute when we get to it.
Maybe.
Yeah. Wouldn't surprise me, but anyway. Yes, so lo and behold, 6 little piggies, 6 little hunters. They wake him up in the morning.
That's quite a horrible scene for him. I thought that was quite effective, where it's kind of shot in a way that you're kind of moving around him and he's being pushed through the cabin.
Yeah, he's the prey. They're the hunters. They said, run. You basically got until we finish breakfast, because they've flown him to the middle of nowhere. He doesn't really know where they are.
No.
And there's no way to get out apart from on a plane, and the second plane, which the other guys arrived on. So he's basically told to run, and once they finish their breakfast, they're coming after him.
And they said John C. McGinley spits in his face, which I didn't think was called for.
Yeah, a bit excessive, but
you know. He won't go. They shoot at his feet, so he kind of pegs it into the woods.
And this is where make sure you can run for 30 minutes on a treadmill comes in.
Yeah.
Don't make it too easy.
And then they keep saying through this film, I hope he's more of a challenge than the last guy you got. He was rubbish. The opening scene of this film is almost identical to Hard Target, where the first thing you see is the other person being killed from the last hunt.
With a bow and arrow, I think.
That's right. Which I think is also what happens in
Hard Target.
In Hard Target.
Yes.
This makes you want to watch Hard Target. So this isn't fair. You know, he's on foot, but they've got motorbikes and quads. So
and guns.
Even if they have like a full breakfast, a couple of courses, maybe a bit of muesli to start them off and some grapefruit, they're still going to catch him pretty quickly.
Yeah. It's hardly much of a challenge, really, is it?
But it does make him consider giving up smoking.
Yes, although he did take the pack with them for some reason. But anyhow. So they go after him in the woods, and then he does something that they say, ooh, none of the others have ever done that before, because he's gone back to the cabin looking for a gun. And he spotted a locked room, so that's why he thinks there'll be a gun in there.
It's quite sensible.
Yeah.
We know absolutely well. We don't at this stage know anything about him, so we don't know, why he's able to work that out. Or more importantly, why no one else is able to work that out.
Yeah, I still don't know that, but they're just not very bright.
Maybe.
But yes, this is where he noticed there was a locked room when he first arrived, and so he breaks open the lock, and lo and behold, here's my reference to Futurama, there's a whole room full of heads in jars with their names written on underneath on a plaque of all the previous people, and there's an empty jar with Mason written on it. Ooh, for his head later. All the trophies that the hunters have killed from previous goes. And no guns, though, sadly.
No, just formaldehyde.
Yeah. Which he splashes everywhere, all over the cabin, and sets a trap, basically.
Yep.
Which is pretty good. It
is. And again, we're going back to the kind of, where does he get his fighting abilities from? I still don't know. But he has quite a good fight with Gary Busey.
Because Gary's got a gun, but he throws it away. He goes, no, I want to do it hand to hand with a knife.
Like the dog.
God, back to the story of the dog. all over again because he got the scar from fighting his dog to the death that he's raised and blah blah blah.
But there's quite a, this is where you first start getting the kind of one-liners, I suppose, because he kind of, I think Gary Busey kind of throws him down and goes out of the fire. And I like my meat raw, rare.
Yeah.
And then when Ice-T kills him, he says, "I like mine well done, bitch."
Yes, because he's thrown him into the cabin, which is on fire. He goes, "I like it well done, bitch."
So I'd forgotten that Gary Busey dies first. And not that far, well, reasonable way into the film, but not that far into the film. I guess it's kind of the reverse of the Predator in a way, where there's one person and everyone else is dying.
Yeah.
So he's dead. The son saves the father. I think we're pulling him out of the fire.
Him out to the cabin. Yeah, because it's all on fire. And he goes, "Yeah, look what you did. You're brave. You're a man now." And Junior's still like, "I don't want to do this." He's quite consistent. I'll give him that. Yeah. Even when he says at one point, "I'll help you do this, but I'm not like you." So at least the son is a consistent character, which I liked. He didn't suddenly turn and start cackling and go, "You're right, Dad. This is great. Let's do this."
Or the other way, be really up for it and then kind of change his mind, which I guess happens to another character in a moment. But yeah, I've got to know here. The son saves the dad. Busey is dead. How can he fight so well? There's a wolf in the woods.
Yeah, that was really strange. Like he stumbles into the woods and a wolf is just looking at him. And I remember thinking, that's going to be important later. Yeah. Nope. It's like, I'm going to put some money into this film, but the only way I'll do that is, can my wolf be in it? Just this scene here. Just here it's a dog. It looks a bit like a wolf.
Yeah, like a wolf. It's the littlest hobo.
Maybe it was.
That's something they should reboot. Anyway.
Littlest hobo?
Yeah. It's got legs.
I don't know. Anyway. So he goes back into the woods. They're chasing him again on the quads. And he comes to a river. And it does the old, no, I'm trapped. But they're behind me. But the river. But, ooh, okay. And he jumps in and, of course, survives the jump.
Yep.
And lands in the water. And none of them go after him.
No, and this is the point where they start to fall out with each other now, which is kind of a bit of a trope, isn't it? That the hunters are bickering so much they can't focus. It also happens in Hard Target, I believe. Yeah. But the thing that suddenly struck me at this point in the film, having watched it again, because part of me was like, well, did I nod off? Have I looked at my phone? Let me just go back a bit. I don't know. My memory of this film was there was like 20 minutes of them making his life hell and they're chasing him and it's all really difficult and they're all really skilled. But the reality is that you don't ever really feel he's in jeopardy.
No.
I don't think.
Not really.
Because they've turned on each other pretty quickly. They've not long had breakfast. The first one's already dead. And he's already starting to be able to do things that we don't really understand why. He sets a trap now using a cigarette, doesn't he? At this point.
Is that the next thing?
I think so. I think he puts a cigarette in a tree and then they follow the smell.
And they can smell the cigarettes and they all split out and wander out. And then he clubs John C. McGinley on the head and picks him up and then carries him off with his gun and his mic headset. But they don't know where he is, but he's like, "Ha, I've got your man now and a gun and that's it."
Yeah, the hunter has become the hunted, but very early, it feels like. But that, as I said before, I think my favourite kind of emotional scene is this sequence of McGinley, who plays the character Griffin, who is kind of, like you said before, kind of totally unhinged based on the fact his daughter's been killed. But I quite like this bit that he kind of changes his mind because he's been projecting who the killer is onto Mason. And kind of says, well, for I know it could have been you. And then he tells his backstory for the first time, which is he was the manager of a building. It should have been condemned. He didn't do enough about it. And then it burnt and his family were killed. Yeah, so he blames himself, even though it was a death trap that he was living in, but he knew it in the ghetto, but he couldn't really afford it. But he kept saying he would do it. So it's the guilt. That's why he hasn't actually killed his family. It's the guilt of him saying that he did. But... and then he doesn't kill Griffin. He kind of lets him go.
Plus, he gives him his medicine. When he starts to get breathless, he gives him his, asthma medicine, inhaler. like 2 or 3 times to help him breathe easier. And he just sort of says, he's quite surprising, really.
And there's lots of things we said so far, and I just think there are more to come that we don't particularly buy. But I did buy McGinley's character and him kind of, being so driven by the kind of raw emotion of grief. And then actually when he sat down and kind of had time to see this was actually just a human being in front of him. Because a lot of this film is about how particularly the Wall Street guy thinks that basically if you haven't got any standing in society, you're not a worthwhile human being. Therefore, you're like an animal. Therefore, you could be killed. Which again is looking now is pretty laid on with the trowel, but I do kind of, so by the time that scene is finished, Griffin, John C. McGinley's character, is basically ready to go home, and he's almost like he's gone through the grieving process very quickly in that cave, and kind of going, look, the guy's all right. Let's just leave him that way.
Yeah.
I'll just fly home. But you can't.
Yes, they can't let him go, and then he sort of says, "What are you going to do? Kill me? Shoot me in the back?" And they go, "No." And he turns around, and it's Rutger Hauer, doesn't he? Shoots him in the head.
No, Charles Dutton shoots him in the head. He's looking at Rutger Hauer, expecting him to shoot him, and Charles Dutton shoots him from across the way. Right in the forehead. And this is when the son starts really freaking out.
Yes, because one was killed by accident, and now they've actually killed one of their own people, and they're turning on each other. And the son's just like, right, okay. He's not happy at all about this.
Next time I'm going whitewater rafting.
Is that what he says?
No, that's what he's thinking.
Oh, right.
This Centre Parks experience is shit.
There's a clay pigeon shooting, but this is taking the mick. It's way over the top. Yes, I think this is when they go into the river because they think that's where he's gone.
Yeah, well, Mason's got Griffin's gun now. So he's got like a machine gun and he starts shooting them. Yeah, and he lures them into the water. And I've put here, his odds are getting better, but I still don't know why he is so capable.
So he hides out of sight. They go in the river. He sneaks back to the bikes. I thought he was going to steal one and then just ride off. But he doesn't. He does something, but we see him fiddling with like one of the lines or something.
Yeah, and he does ride one.
Yeah, they work out that he's doubled back again. This is twice he's done it now. And they see him riding off one of the motorbikes, and Rutger Hauer shoots out one of the tyres, I think.
Yes.
And then everybody else gets on their quads. This was a surprise. Yeah. And Charles Dutton's quad bike explodes with him on it. And I thought that was it. He would just be dead. But no. He's on the floor.
With no
both
legs.
Of his legs have been blown off from the knee down.
It's all very Forrest Gump.
Yeah. It's very, very like... There's a weird scene between him and Rutger Hauer. Because he essentially puts him down. But I thought he'd just shoot him, but he doesn't. He like chokes him out.
Yeah. Which does seem unnecessary.
It's a bit weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also, again, it's like, I don't know. If you or I were suddenly a wilderness survival guide, I wouldn't know how to blow up a quad. I don't know. Maybe you would. You're a bit more outdoorsy than me. But...
I do have my own wellies, Pete. So
So do I, but they're superhero ones, and they're not.
You couldn't come out.
They look quite ridiculous when you're outdoors.
I must say, you can't come out, Pete, wearing them in the woods. Next time I go, if you're wearing them, you just have to stay at home.
Who's the guy with the blue and purple wellies with POW on them? I don't know him, but I've met him before.
See if you know him waving at you. No, I don't know him.
Like, no.
Call you by name, random chance. Just the odds. Steve's common name.
Steve, what are you doing to his quad? You can't wear shit wellies with no legs.
It's true. So that's, now they're down to 3 now.
3, yes. So we've got the Wall Street man and his son and Rutger Hauer.
That's it. Now. That's a
Burns. I say Burns. Wolf and Burns, sorry. Wolf Jr. and Burns.
And is this the bit with the tree and the shot?
Yeah, and the crawling up across the branch.
So he comes to yet another edge of canyon, nowhere to get across. So
Considering they do this every weekend, they don't seem to know their way around that well.
It's true.
Compared to the person who's never been there before.
Yeah. Ice-T can't get across, so he uses a shotgun to shoot a tree in half, creating a bridge, and then you think he's run away and gone across it. But once again, time number 3, he's actually doubled back.
They should have been called double back.
Yeah, triple back. Triple back.
Yeah, nice.
I don't know. Anyway, yes, so he's tricked them once more. Rutger Hauer goes across. Junior... This is
Junior's kind of like, Dad, you stay there, I'll go. And his dad's like, okay.
Yeah.
And then, Ice-T is throwing rocks.
Junior.
Yeah.
Whilst he's halfway across. And then he freaks out and slips and starts...
And
crying for his dad, basically. And then he falls to his death and dies. Yep. But we don't see him. We just kind of see him fall off, and that's it. And now they're down to 2, and that's it.
Yep, and they decide to wait for the dark then. So there's a kind of... Wolf just wants to kill him. He's just killed his son, and Rutger Hauer, in one of his many like faux zen kind of moments, is like, be still, be patient, be a hunter, be a professional. I really do want to watch Hard Target again. There's line in that says be a professional, but it's done in a much better way. They hide in the dark, and then I think does Mason camouflage himself, kind of.
He finds some black paint to put on his face, from somewhere. And starts scaring them by running around in the dark, and Wolf just starts going crazy, shooting with his gun. And he goes, I'm unarmed, and they start shooting. That'll work. And then he runs out of bullets, so he throws the gun at the trees and goes, I don't need a gun! It's like, well, it's a good thing, because you just run out of bullets, and you've just thrown your gun away.
And then does he light a...
No. He turns around and Mason's just behind him. Just there. And they go hand to hand. Brrr.
For a very short time.
Yes.
It's a very short fight to this film.
And Mason starts to get annoyed and then snaps his neck.
Yes.
Rutger Hauer's watching the whole time, but he's camouflaged and he's under a tree. I thought basically he was going to be sitting there watching, because I've not seen this before, with a gun, with like a sniper rifle, and then once Wolf Sr. was dead and he got a clear shot, he'd just shoot Mason. That's what I thought was going to happen. But he doesn't do that at all.
No, he pegs it.
He runs.
He basically, he's a coward. I think he's realised, I've got no one else to put in front of this guy now, and the guy is capable. We still don't know how. I can't listen to this back now. I've frightened myself.
Don't listen to this, Pete.
That right into headphones. You might have to take over.
So, yes, he's scared himself, and there's no one else to help. So he runs away and runs to the plane.
Gets on a motorbike, goes to a plane.
And then Mason pursues him, sees the plane starting to gear up, and he manages to get there remarkably quickly, peers into the cockpit, and it's empty.
What?
What trick, what sorcery is this?
Yeah, it's almost like he's now double-backed as well. It's...
four double-back.
Yeah.
And of course he's not in there, and Burns has set a trap this time, and he shoots the petrol tank, blows up the plane. Ta-da! Mason's dead. Hooray! And then he gets in the other plane that was there, which we did see earlier, so it wasn't made up out of thin air.
Yeah, I'd forgotten it, and I was like, where's that come from?
Yeah, it was the plane that everybody else arrived in, apart from Mason and the pig. And Burns gets in that other plane and flies away, and that's it. That seems to be the end. But wait, what's this? We're staying on the airfield. Something on the ground, and look, Mason's alive.
And he's in super slow-mo.
And then we find out we're in Seattle 3 days later.
Yeah, do we know how he got there?
Yes.
Do we?
Yes.
I might have missed a bit. So I may have been nodding off. Because Burn is there, isn't he? And he's basically pretending to be a priest and got a new identity.
Why is he pretending to be a priest? That's what confused. Why like a Russian Orthodox priest?
I think they've got Mr. Hauer. Mr. Hauer. So you're very good. What kind of things do you like? I love, because I'm sure it's like the third or fourth film I've seen with him as a priest. Priest, I'm good at doing a priest. Okay, that's fine. So like some Guinness. No, I don't want a Guinness. Just a priest. It's fine. Off you go.
Yeah, so he's dyed his hair and eyebrows and beard. He spends a lot of time on that in the mirror.
He still looks an awful lot like Rutger Hauer.
But with a darker beard. You'd never recognise. And he's dressed like a priest. That's it.
Exactly.
And he's got like military uniforms and passports and money. And he ignores all of that, puts on his priest outfit and goes out with one black bag, goes to get in his truck, turns it over, but the engine is completely dead.
He's had a phone call before this, hasn't he? From Wall Street.
Wolf's mother.
He is. Oh my God, he is the Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
So Wolf, the Wall Street guy, his wife has lived. My husband and my son. I haven't heard from them. Can you return my call, please?
I'm starting to get a little bit worried now. She says. It's like yes. Bad news, love. Anywho.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's when he gets in his truck with his one black case.
Yep.
And the engine is dead. And he goes, ooh. I thought there was going to be like a bomb in the car.
Okay.
Because he's done everything else, so come on. I thought he's going to have rigged up a bomb to the car, but he doesn't. But he's suspicious. Something's wrong. So he gets out and walks instead and meets this old woman. There again, because I read too much into this, I thought she was a plant. I thought she was some part of an elaborate plan that Mason set up. No. She's actually just an old homeless woman who thinks he's really a priest, and he blesses her and kisses her on the forehead.
And then she asks for money. Then she asks for money, and he tells her, "No, go away." But again, in other films, a couple of things could have happened. Like you said, she's a plant, which would have been quite a clever way of keeping him there. Or she'd say something that had a double meaning, or something that kind of. But no, she was just an old lady.
Given that he was a homeless man before and he had friends, you would have thought, she was.
She maybe someone we saw at the start.
No,
yeah, exactly.
No, we didn't. No.
I'm going to fund your film. Now, there's two things here. My wolf has to be in it, and also my mother.
And this is where he knows that something's up, because he walks along the alleyway. There's a motorbike. It's the motorbike.
Yes.
So somehow,
is that okay?
Somehow he managed to ride to Seattle in 3 days on a motorbike that you probably...
Despite not knowing where he was.
Or having any petrol. And be able to fill up with no money. But it doesn't matter. He can drive there on the bike in 3 days. Anyway.
And find the person you're looking for.
Yeah. Anyhow, so he opens this one black case that he's taken with him. No money, no nothing. What's in it? A gun. That's all he's going to get through customs dressed as a priest with no money, no passport. What have you got? A gun. Really?
Anything to declare, sir? Well,
nope. Security back in the 90s was a joke.
Yeah, these days you can't take shampoo.
Nope, you have a plastic bag. Can you just put the gun in the plastic bag, sir? Yes. Is it less than
100 mils?
How many bullets, sir? Less than 100? That's okay. Yes, that's okay. No, sorry, sir. It's more than 100. You can't put it in there. Any spare magazines? Well, technically, I suppose they do count as extra bullets, but because it's you, we'll let you through, and you're a priest. Blatantly, that's okay. I mean, it's just like... Anyhow, so he's got a large gun. Anyway, carry on.
I try to remember what happens now. So they start to...
runs down the alleyway.
That's right.
And Mason appears from the top of a fire escape, kicks him in the face. Double kick. And there's a very short fight again.
It's a very short fight. And Burton's kind of ready to die. He kind of almost squares off to him and do it then. If you want to kill me, just kill me.
Yeah.
And, he doesn't mind. There's two things that happen here actually that kind of throws back to earlier in the film. They are things that are kind of set up. So he talked about the hunted should see the hunter and look in their eyes and all this kind of stuff, which I guess is now that it's reversed. He's ready to die because he's been bettered by the hunter. Mason, who is now the hunter, no longer the hunted. But then he doesn't shoot. He could shoot him, but he doesn't, does he?
No, he empties the gun, throws away the clip, throws away the gun, and says, I don't even think he says it's over or something. He just walks away.
Yeah, well, it's done, man, or
it's
something.
Done, man. Yeah. So. And then Rutger Hauer was having none of that, so he runs over, picks up the gun, finds the extra one bullet that he'd cleared from the chamber, puts it in the gun, goes to shoot Mason. But wait, callback to the beginning.
Close up. Yes, there is. We've obviously got to mention at the start, which
Yeah.
it's tenuous and it's like literally the very start and the very end of the film, so it doesn't really work as a setup, I don't think, having watched it again. So the Ice-T's character finds a gun, doesn't he? And he's kind of got it, and the friend of his, the old man, explains to him, you should always check the barrel. It's the first thing you do when you've been given a gun. You shouldn't. So here he hasn't checked the barrel. So Ice-T, I think, repeats the line, "Always check the barrel,"
because he's put something in the gun.
Yep, and then it explodes.
It backfires and kills Rutger Hauer with his own gun.
Yeah. He has survived the game.
And then he walks off down the alley, and I think that's it.
Yeah. Real titles, yes.
Okay.
Pretty much.
Wow.
I think you should go first because you haven't seen it before.
Okay, let's do some scores.
Enough with the yak. What is your score?
At the end of this film, I thought, why didn't I spend the hour and a half watching Hard Target instead?
Because we've already done it. Actually,
I do like Hard Target. We haven't done it, have we?
We haven't done it on here. Actually, I did it with Scott on Comic Book Outsiders, which was one of the things that led us to do this show.
Oh.
I believe.
Wow, that was years ago.
It was years ago. If you do it again, no one will know.
So the cast of this is great. Really, really solid cast. Pretty poor acting throughout. Sorry. I think if it was based on the same material and it came around a similar time, well, it's nowhere as good as Hard Target. I'd still think that Ice-T was miscast in this. He didn't really work. As you said, he seems to have an inordinate amount of skills and abilities way beyond these hunters who've killed like 20 people because we kept seeing all these heads in jars. So they've been doing it for a while and should be fairly successful. And yet a man with no real talents or abilities outwits them all and then kills them all. And that's kind of the end of the film. Is it something I'd watch again? No. I'd watch Hard Target instead. So a lot of cliches, I think. A lot of no really standout one-liners. It was a bit a dot-to-dot film, I think, one thing to the next thing and so on. So, scores, I'm actually only going to give it one bag. It's a one bagger for me, yeah.
Have you given one bag before?
I think so, yeah.
I'm guessing on something else that I chose.
No, I think it was
I guess that would make sense.
Gina Carano film we all watched at the start.
Oh, so that was the second ever episode. I wasn't on that episode.
I think I gave that a one, maybe, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah, that is.
Okay. Go on, your turn.
So I'm confused. I'm conflicted. I don't know who I am anymore. So yeah, I'd really like this film when it came
you were 19.
Out. Yeah, but I don't really know why.
There's nothing on, Pete.
And it was, it's got a nice, and also that the name gives I wrote a short story when I was in school, which was essentially very similar to this. Okay. It was called Fox Hunt, and it was about a man called somebody Fox, and he was asked to go somewhere, and then he realised they were hunting him, and I was about 12 or 13, and the teacher said to me, well, it's a good story, but the title kind of gives it all away, and this is called Surviving the Game, which does the same kind of thing, really.
Yeah.
It's not a film where you're going to be quizzing and querying where it goes. I don't think.
Love the film.
And I think there's something like The Most Dangerous Game, which I think is a short story. There's something like 30 films have been made of that. But I'd always put this with Blind Fury and Stone Cold as some of the films that were straight to video that I really liked and no one else had seen.
Right.
But we've done Blind Fury, and I think you quite like that, with the Rutger Hauer with the sword.
That's all right.
Blind Swordsman. And Stone Cold, I think you quite liked.
Yeah, I did enjoy that one.
Brian Bosworth. So I don't know what happened here, because I went, oh yeah, I remember why I really like them. There's this funny line, or there's this great fight, I watched this and I don't understand. I don't understand what happened. I think I've made a mistake. Anyone listening who maybe put this on specifically for this show, I apologise.
And here's the thing, right? When you watch a film like this, before you get your score, and some people go, "Oh, that sounds so awful. I want to watch it." Don't. I know a friend of mine who's probably listening goes, "Oh, it sounds terrible. I'll have to watch it." Don't. It isn't worth your time. Go and watch Hard Target instead. That's my recommendation. But anyway, what's your score, Pete, for your current age self, not your 19-year-old self?
It's the good thing is it's only an hour and 36 minutes long.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it 2 bags because I just think iced tea is worth 1 bag on his own, and then the other bag is for the film. It does make me wonder if we should have done Hard Target 2, which is from about 2 years ago with Scott Adkins, maybe instead.
Maybe.
But never Roadhouse 2. That's.
Oh. No.
Have you ever seen that?
No, I don't want to.
I'm not. We're not going to ever do it. So I can tell you that for me would be a 0 bagger.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Not even 1 bag. Was your 1 bag? Did your 1 bag have a gun in it?
Maybe it did.
But if you want to see it, it is on Prime Video on Amazon.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to watch it, they can.
Yeah. Okay.
So from now on, Steve will be picking all the films to watch.
No, we'll continue to take turns. Don't worry. Don't you worry, film fans. You'll get a taste of modern and less than modern.
If you've watched Surviving the Game, specifically for this episode, I am not contactable in any way whatsoever. I have run away to live in Hell's Canyon on my own.
Pete takes no responsibility whatsoever if you watch this film.
No.
Anywho, right, that's it. Let's wrap it up.
Thank you very much for listening, if indeed you still are.
Good night.
Good night.
You have been listening to Bags of Action. No bullshit. You'd better stick around for the next episode, because if you're lying, I'll be back.